Hey, Stephen A., what are you hot on as we head into hour number 2?
You know something, I've been waiting to talk about this situation with Floyd, and of course, I've got T.O. on my mind because, once again, Terrell Owens has been validated as a Hall of Famer, contrary to what some of his contemporaries may think. That coming up now. Floyd Money Mayweather Max was at the OKC Warriors game Saturday night, and we spoke for a few minutes. It's not finalized. There are details to be worked out. He did not confirm that a deal had been done as of yet. But as you know, I've known Floyd for years, and he had a smile on his face, and he says, we're getting there. We're getting very, very close. And he believes that he has the potential to make even more money than he made fighting Pacquiao.
Please let this fight happen. Then Mayweather took to the gram, posting this on IG yesterday. There seems to be several rumors floating around media recently. However, let the record show there haven't been any deals made in regards to a fight between myself and any other fighters. I'm happily retired, enjoying life at this time. If any changes are to come, be sure that I will be the first to let the world know. Now, you know McGregor wasn't going to sit idly by, hitting Mayweather with this picture and the caption, I am in Las Vegas. Floyd has retired on my arrival. If only the trash talk was any indication of what this bout would look like. Stephen A., what is going on here with Mayweather?
First of all, people were treating it like I reported that a deal was done. Floyd Mayweather specifically said nothing was done, which is what I said. He's confident because he's reached a point where he has said, I'm doing this. I'm ready to fight. The difference is I'm my own boss. You are not. I'm the A team. You are not. Conor is going to talk back and forth. Floyd is going to talk back and forth. But in the end, what this comes down to is whether or not Conor McGregor and those boys with the UFC, including Dana White, are going to sanction this getting done. The Nevada State Athletic Commission knows about this. They don't seem to have a problem with it. Floyd certainly doesn't have a problem with it. And from the people that I've spoken to, regardless of what Dana White says, of course a deal is not done or anything like that. But the opportunity, if it presents itself and it works for all parties, they're certainly not going to stand in the way of Conor McGregor making this fight happen. But it really is about them. It's not about Floyd, because Floyd is standing still. And his whole thing is, I'm ready when you are. What you gonna do? You chirping, chirping, chirping. You talking, talking, talking. But I'm my own boss. I don't have to answer to anybody. You do. I'm ready to do this. So speculation as to whether or not Floyd wants to do this needs to come to an end. He was on this show. He said it. He said it to other folks. He said it to me Saturday. He's willing to do it, but under no circumstances did he give any indications that it's done, because Conor seems to be acting like he's the A-lister. He's the one that gets in a position to make demands. And all I would say to that is, evidently, you're not accustomed to doing business with Floyd Money Mayweather. There are many people who have tried to sit up there and usurp his authority since he's been in complete control of his own brand. They have all failed.
Yeah, except for De La Hoya, who had done what Floyd did before Floyd.
Right, before. I'm saying before.
De La Hoya
right.
showed if you're a famous boxer, if you're a big box office guy as a boxer, you can leverage your fame and your ability at the box office to make yourself your own promoter, essentially, and then be the lead promoter in any show. That's what Floyd's done. Conor McGregor is in the UFC. That's his promoter. And the UFC in mixed martial arts has a dominant position. And one of the reasons that is, and one of the reasons there are a lot of famous UFC fighters and not as many famous boxers at the moment, is that UFC is able to control labor costs. It's one of the reasons the fight might happen, because Mayweather is using the notoriety, the fame of Conor McGregor to make a big event, and at the same time, he knows he doesn't have to pay that opponent, maybe even with the promoter on top of the UFC, as much as he may have to pay someone like Pacquiao. Because in boxing, those labor costs aren't controlled. Both sides got to get paid. But if you're Conor McGregor and you're making, I'll just pick a number, $5 million a fight, and you can make $25 million for this fight, that's 5 fights in the UFC, and in the UFC, you might lose any one of those fights. Here, McGregor can lose to Mayweather. It doesn't matter. He's not a boxer anyway. It doesn't really hurt him, and he can make the same he can make in 5 fights. Meanwhile, Floyd can say, $25 million for this guy, that's not so much.
So let me ask
I don't
you
have to give him $100 million. I can keep the rest.
Let me ask you this, because this is the fight game, and I'm always going to defer to you first, Max. Let me ask you this question. Is this one of those situations where somebody like you even more so than me. But the combination of the both of us and folks from folks that have global reach, do we need to stand up and say to McGregor, yo, bro, I don't know if you know this or not, but you are not the A-lister here. You got an opportunity to make more money. I mean, the way he sounds, he acts like he makes more money than Floyd. Floyd's made more money in one fight than he's...
McGregor's not the problem. I'm sure Floyd loves this, because the reason McGregor, and you brought this up yesterday, it's a big event because McGregor can sell pay-per-views because he can talk that talk, right?
Yes, he can.
That's why Floyd says, go talk to your people, go talk to the UFC. Really, what happened is you broke it yesterday. There was chatter about it, and sometimes chatter in the media makes a deal more difficult to get done. So obviously, phone calls are being exchanged. Hey, good job promoting the fight, but shh, let's put the horse back in the barn until we get the paperwork signed, and then we can start promoting this thing again. I think that's what's going on.
So the holdup's the UFC.
Yes, and Conor saying he being that A-list kind of ego is what makes it a big event.
It's good to know both fighters are in, though.
Well, listen, again, we can say that, but McGregor sounds like he's in, but he also sounds like he's giving folks a hard time in terms of making the deal.
He wants to get paid. You can't blame him.
Well, wait a minute. Like Max just said, you're going to make more in one fight than it would take you to make in 5 fights.
He's in a boxing ring, Stephen A. Like, think about what he's putting on the line. And I get that he has nothing to lose from that perspective, but I'm just saying it's a totally different sport, essentially.
Max just explained to you that he has very little to lose. Conor McGregor has very little to lose.
I get that he has little to lose from a reputation standpoint, and I get that if Floyd did with his 49-0 record, but I'm saying, remember, Conor's the one that's going into his sport.
Yeah, but what I'm saying...
That deserves some extra money, in my opinion.
But wait a minute. Floyd Mayweather came on this show and explained to us, wait a minute, I'm trying to give you 5, 10 times more than you've ever made. You're thinking you deserve almost as much as me.
Because he feels like he's boxing.
But I'm saying you don't deserve more than Floyd.
And my interpretation, guys, my reading of this situation is that this is not Conor McGregor holding him up for more money. This is the fact that Conor McGregor's not the only one who needs to get paid here. The promoter, the UFC, also needs to get paid. That's another layer of expense.
But let me
it seems to me that's what's being negotiated right now.
But a quick question here. If the fight happens by mere virtue of the fight happening, doesn't that alone make mega money for the UFC because of the attention that it brings to the sport?
And that's why the fight is likely to be made. Everyone gets paid.
On that note, we will leave it there, and we'll switch gears to our nation's capital. So the franchise tag window opens today, and the Redskins have until March 1st to decide whether to use that on Kirk Cousins. So after playing the 2016 season under the tag, Washington would prefer to work out a long-term extension with its starting quarterback this offseason. Cousins would receive close to $24 million if Washington opts to use it. A third straight franchise tag would mean paying him $34.5 million in 2018. They could still work out a long-term deal after franchising Cousins. Max, what would you do? Would you franchise him or give him the long-term deal?
I'd probably give him the long-term deal at this point because there aren't a lot of quarterbacks out there right now, and Washington is a talented team. It's not like they're without talent, and Cousins is a solid quarterback. Now, I don't know that I would pay him like a franchise quarterback, but this is what seems to be emerging in the NFL right now. Franchise quarterback means you ain't looking. You're done. You're good at quarterback. A starting quarterback means we're okay. If something amazing comes along, maybe we'll look at that. But for now, we're okay. And when you think about it, if he avoids injury and you keep franchising him, you're likely to wind up paying him more than you will in a long-term deal anyway. The guarantee for Osweiler was only $37.5 million. Cousins made more than half of that last year. He does it again. He already beat Osweiler's guarantee in 2 years.
Here's my thing. I have no problem with a long-term commitment to Kirk Cousins. I have a problem with the money. When we start talking 100, 125 million, and by the way, that's a point I forgot to bring up with Mr. Waddle here in terms of Jay Cutler, $126 million. I don't give a damn that it wasn't all guaranteed, only 50 plus was guaranteed. The notion that $126, let alone $126 million gets associated with Jay Cutler really irks my nerves. Having said all of that, let's be clear. Kirk Cousins, this is a guy that passed what? Completed 67% of his passes, passed for 4,917 yards, his second consecutive 4,000-yard season as a starter in Washington, having not missed a single game over the last 2 years, 32 games. He's played all 32 of them. Kirk Cousins has proven to me that he deserves the team saying, okay, if Brock Osweiler is out there getting $70 million with $37 million guaranteed, et cetera, you deserve something. My problem is when you say $100 million, you're calling him the franchise.
Right.
And I don't believe he's earned the right to be a franchise quarterback. Last year, I'm going to repeat this again, and you tell me to put on my reporter hat, that's what I'm doing. Last year, in the throes of Washington's struggle, I got calls from numerous dudes in that locker room that said, we like Kirk. Great guy, damn good quarterback. Don't pay so much attention to the numbers because he will pad his stats. And is he really playing to win, or is he really playing to pad those numbers? There have been times when I've watched the Washington Redskins, and Kirk Cousins has come up small in big moments. Not always, but it has happened. And there have been other times when they were out of reach, they were losing, and somehow, some way, prevent defenses kick in, and you padding up your numbers that way. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking at with Kirk Cousins. I'm looking for the Kirk Cousins that shows up consistently in big moments and tells me and shows me that the word franchise deserves to be attached to his name other than a franchise
That's
tag.
the difference to me also between him and a franchise quarterback. Let me see you get it done with the money on the line. I haven't really, listen, other people could argue, well, the money's always on the line, and if you're a starting quarterback, you know what I mean. Highest leverage moments, I haven't seen it from him. And if you need 8 yards for a first down and you throw for 6 and you're punting, it doesn't help you much.
That's a good point, because that's exactly what Kirk does sometimes.
And Elway tried to address this in the Osweiler situation. There should be a middle class for quarterbacks. You're not a scrub, but you're not Tom Brady either. You're somewhere in between. And Osweiler
a solid quarterback.
Osweiler's not that.
No, Kirk.
But I'm saying Osweiler's not that, but he got paid like that. Cousins is that. Cousins better than a guy like Osweiler, but he obviously not Tom Brady.
You know what else, too? I'd give Kirk Cousins the house if it were Denver. Why? Because I have Emmanuel Sanders,
Right.
I have Demaryius Thomas, and I have a defense that's elite, and I have John Elway. And so under those circumstances, okay, that's all I need. I'm good. But when you call Kirk Cousins a franchise, you're talking about building something around him. And I don't know if he's earned that yet. As much as I like him, and I do appreciate the fact that he seems committed to Washington and wants to stay, I do have my questions about him being a $100 million man. I got questions about that.
It appears the team wants to give him a long-term extension, so we shall see. This next topic, it's going to be good. OJ up for parole this summer, but are the guys okay with him being released early? And get your popcorn ready. Bill Parcells has weighed in on the Owens Hall of Fame debate, and you might be surprised if he